we are here to discuss more about the technology, so let's dive into that. With regards to business, decisions matter. However, it's critical to know whether decisions are taken on the basis of emotions or intuitions. However, in spite of the huge amounts of data available alongside different technologies to assist organizations to make sense of it, numerous organizations still settle on significant business decisions based on gut rather than data. And keeping in mind that business leaders, depending on their experience, predict the future, most of the time, opposite of the data, analysts, or reporting may sound counterproductive in the present data driven society, it isn't as awful as it appears. All things considered, can you truly disregard, say, 20 years of experience in an industry? Yet, then again, what does the data available state? The answer to the problem will be given by Mr. Adam Crigger, founder and president of Preferred Strategies. Hi, Adam. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Priya. Thanks for the opportunity to join you on the podcast today.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. So, starting with the podcast, Adam, can you please tell us, our listeners, about what Preferred Strategies is into, its specialization, and the services it offers?
Yeah, no, thank you. And I love, before we dive in, just how the decision making based on data versus gut, because that's kind of what we live and breathe every day. So, a little bit about us, Preferred Strategies. We've been around for about 18 years, founded in 2002, and we are a kind of software and services company. We focus on a couple ERPs as data sources. They happen to be JD Edwards and Viewpoint, which is a construction-related ERP, as well as Salesforce as a CRM. But really what we do is our business is helping companies take information from those data sources and turn it into decision-ready information with a solution we've created called Quick Launch. So unlike some of other competitors or companies in the space that have built their own reporting and analytics technologies, we took a little bit of a different approach at Preferred Strategies. Our goal was to leverage the market-leading technologies out there. So today, primarily we're using Microsoft Power BI with delivering packaged content with our Quick Launch for those specific applications that I mentioned as data sources. So that's really the high level what we do. The main thing I think, and we're talking back to data and turning data into decision-ready information, is our Quick Launch. We build a data set. It kind of becomes that governed single source of truth, and that's really what our value is, value proposition to our customers.
Great. Thank you so much, Adam, for letting our listeners know about what Preferred Strategies is. Truly, data is a new oil for forward-looking businesses to unlock the full potential of an entire organization. Now, this allows all business units to make data-driven business decisions and deliver personalized digital experiences to customers and stakeholders. Now, when you're talking about delivering personalized digital experiences and making sure the organizations are taking data-driven business decisions, what do you think was the mission the company was set up? Can you tell us about your journey since the inception of the company?
Yeah. So we've as I mentioned, we're coming up on 20 years, and a lot of the technologies that were on today's desktops and people's mobile phones didn't exist back in 2002. So we've witnessed a lot of change. Back when we started, we were focusing primarily around traditional reporting and business intelligence. So from a technology stack, our company was helping ERP customers, and back then we weren't doing anything with CRM just yet. But we were using business. Started out with Crystal Reports. I don't know if that goes way back for a lot of companies as a enterprise reporting application, and then we transitioned to the full-blown business objects when they acquired Crystal, back in the early 2000s, and then now, and since 2012, we've kind of switched to Microsoft, and as I mentioned, Power BI. So it's been a big game changer. But our when we first started as a company, our goal was to really just help these companies turn their ERP data and start getting better reports. And that was really the goal. There was a lot of reporting challenges that our customers were facing, and so we found a good way with Crystal Reports, and then and then grew from that. But I think that really was the transition with from the Crystal reports to the business objects to now Microsoft Power BI. So our mission today as a business, rather than just trying to solve specific reporting challenges, is more to find companies who value data as much as we do and partner together on their data-driven journey. And really, that's what we see it. And I think our customers, everybody's at a different data literacy and maturity, and the technologies of today are different than they were yesterday, and the technologies of tomorrow will be different than they are today. So really, it's that's our mission, is really to be a partner for companies as they go through their data transformation.
Great. And like as I mentioned before, like data is a new oil, and with your mission being that you really help companies to value data as much as you do. So it's quite interesting to know that. However, I'm sure it's not easy as it sounds. So of course we're going to talk about the challenges later on. Moving ahead, in the recent years, we have witnessed a tremendous shift in business operations, and companies have realized the importance of data as a real asset. So, as organizations experience a digital transformation, including culture, even minute details of an entire business fabric and data are tracked, recorded, and leveraged as various key data points to make well informed business decisions, unlock new business opportunities, and foster business growth. Having said that, can you tell us about your role towards preferred strategies, and what have been your contributions towards the company as well as the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think I came from, before starting Preferred Strategies, I worked for a JD Edwards customer in their finance department for 4 years. So I was able to kind of understand, how the business was operating, what management needed to make decisions, but we didn't have a good way to get the data to transition to that. I was kind of have a more of a technical mind. So personally, I'm very hands-on. I like to be get in and dig into the technologies to the best of my capabilities. There's a lot smarter people in our company that go miles beyond myself, but I'm very passionate about technology, and really, back to, as I mentioned before, helping customers turn their data into decision-ready information, because I think that's what's so critical. And as you mentioned, data is the new oil, and in so many companies, and especially in the ERP space that we're in, data goes into the ERP, and it goes in, and there's all kinds. It's just a gold mine of data. But for a lot of customers, it's data in a black box that they can't make sense of it, and they can't really drive the business forward and move their corporate needle based on that data unless they can turn it into usable information. So that's really, not as a company, but personally, I'm committed to. I also at Preferred Strategies do help in performing sales demonstrations to customers. So as we get engaged with a customer and they say, hey, here's the current challenges we have, and here's what's preventing us from being able to make these better decisions. And if we had these capabilities, then we could actually do that. And then I get to participate in that. And that's the fun stuff. I really look at, anytime we can show a customer a better way of life and a better way to do things. And we're just fortunate enough to be participating with technologies like Microsoft Power BI and other leading analytics technologies to kind of see customers realize those benefits.
Thank you, Adam, for sharing your role and contributions towards the company. And I definitely like the fact that how it's really important to engage your customers in a really interactive way, and telling your customers and showing them how they can lead a better life. When you're talking about data and data-driven business decisions, the simple answer is that making decisions based on evidence is far more reliable than ones based on instinct, assumptions, or perceptions, which can be biased. Now, using data-driven approach, you will be able to identify trends over time, which can inform effective practices and help you become aware of issues and probably eliminate possible innovations or solutions as well. Can you tell us how the company is contributing in the big data analytics and business intelligence industry of the nation, and how the company is benefiting the clients?
Yeah, so we have customers that are over $100 billion in revenue. So very big companies with lots of data. Our niche as a company is kind of focused, as I mentioned, about the ERP. So when we talk about big data and streaming data sets, they're growing in millions, if not billions, of records, and an hour a day or whatnot. That's not typically what we see in the ERP space, but we do have several customers, over a billion. But the sweet spot for us is under a billion. So I think I would say we're contributing in the big data space and BI across the board. But when it comes to big data, is really again, one of the key pieces of information is making sure you've got good data to be able to go through the machine learning exercises and address it to find those insights to make and lead to better decision making. And so for us, it's the framework. We're providing customers with that governed decision framework or a governed data model, that single source of truth that they know is going to be critical to that next step in their exercise. So really, it's I would say our largest customers we're pulling into our data model that is around over the ERP in the hundreds of millions of records to over a billion. But yeah, I think from a technology stack, again, focus in the ERP and CRM space that we're in, customers still want to leverage, the latest and greatest. And so, we're currently building out future quick launch solutions to support Azure Data Lake, Azure Synapse, Snowflake, those other technologies that are kind of used by a lot of those, advanced companies that are taking the next step in their data maturity around analytics.
That was a nice one, Adam. And I really like the fact that how you highlighted that it is really important to have a good data, have good data, and not just have data. And it's quite inspiring to see what the company is doing. And of course, definitely the contributions of the company are quite valuable as well. Mm, Moving ahead, Adam, there are early adopters who are capitalizing end-to-end data insights and who are trying to leverage that and empowering themselves to stay ahead of the competition in today's data world war. And consistently, these companies are redefining their business strategies to connect and engage with customers across digital channels to capture the untapped market share and win new customers. Eventually, being a data driven enterprise will enable an organization to create a long term value for itself and for its customers. Now, when you're talking about data and specifically preferred strategies, which is in the data field and trying to help companies become a data-driven company, how do you think the company is innovative, or are there any key partnerships and involvements done to drive the innovation?
Yeah, good question. Well, I think we and as a company, have decades of experience in the combination of technologies, ERP, analytics, CRM, and so forth. But I think what really drives our innovation is the demand from companies, right? I think as one of the alignment that we find with customers is, and I think you mentioned this earlier on, Priya, about the data culture, right? If you are a data-driven organization or intend to be a data-driven organization, and that's driven down from the top down, hopefully, but everybody in the company, it's that culture that's so critical. So we're fortunate enough to work with companies that are on that have that culture or striving to have that culture, and they help us drive the innovation. They're the ones that are helping us define how can we help their business, and then because with our quick launch and preferred strategies, have a package solution that helps a variety of hundreds of customers that are all sharing the same type of framework. It allows us to then expand and grow our technologies in the advanced analytics space as we grow. As far as like key partnerships, Microsoft is really our main partnership from an analytics perspective. And so I think that's been great, and just timing is great. We just saw last week the Gartner Magic Quadrant come out for analytics and business intelligence, and seeing Microsoft continue to kind of separate themselves in the leaders quadrant is super exciting for us, because again, that's the technology that most of our companies, our customers and partners have standardized on for their strategy around data. So yeah, just to be part of, delivering the governed data set, and get people in. I think part of this journey that we talk about is getting people from traditional reporting and data visualization, and getting that the right infrastructure to be able to support machine learning, and drive them up the ladder to more predictive, descriptive, and prescriptive type environments, is really key. And so that's really what everybody comes at a different, I guess, data literacy point. And really for some of our customers, some of the simplest things around not advanced analytics or big data, but simple visualization is a game changer and an eye opening for some customers. So it's just great to be part of that journey from ground zero all the way up to the most advanced capabilities that exist.
Well, we are excited for you too, Adam, and also for the company. And we really hope your key partnerships and involvements keep on growing and help you grow as a company as well, and you grow as a leader as well. Um, if you're talking about data analytics, artificial intelligence, big data, the development and democratization of business intelligence software empowers users without deep rooted technical expertise to analyze as well as extract insights from the data. As a direct result, less IT support is required to produce reports, trends, visualizations, and insights for that matter that facilitate a data decision making process. Now, since I earlier mentioned about these technologies like AI, big data, or for that matter, automation, how do you think these technologies are impacting today's innovation, and how has the role of a leader changed over the years?
Yeah, good question. I think we're starting to see it, that, and we are. I mean, everybody's kind of predicting this is our future. We are starting to see this become more mainstream, at least in a portion of our customer base. We in November of last year, we had a customer user group meeting, and we probed some customers about this, and where does advanced analytics and AI and machine learning and the next tier, for a lot of companies, where does that sit in their priorities? And definitely it's on the radar, and on the short list of things that people or customers plan to get to over the next months to years. And a couple of great examples where when COVID first hit last year, we had a customer that shared with us. It was really exciting because they were able to immediately use advanced analytics to predict COVID-19 related supply shocks, right? So once the first month or two, when most companies just to figure out the supply chain and how to best manage that, to be able to get better control of that, they were able to kind of get in and work through some transportation routing and other areas as well, to help make sure that they were able to keep the right lines of supply there. And another example is a customer that they have our quick launch and have JD Edwards, but they also have taken the next step with some machine learning, and in their manufacturing process. They manufacture wax, and there's actually a fair amount of waste, but they've been able to kind of identify in the manufacturing process, what is, for, let's say, a dozen different pieces of machinery and equipment, what's the ideal temperature if you do in combination of all these 12 pieces and steps of the process, that will have the most reduction in waste, which clearly is direct dollars to the bottom line. And so in a first project they were able to accomplish there, they've already realized millions of dollars in savings just from what the machines have been able to provide them. So I do think, again, we're for our customer base probably still in the earlier phases. But if you ask me that a year from now, I think it's just going to be exciting to see more and more of these stories come into reality for many more customers, and again, getting to mainstream sooner than later, for sure.
Definitely, I think preferred strategies is going to grow, and we're going to see more such stories and more such news coverage and press releases where we're talking more about the preferred strategies, and of course, you as well. Mm, um, Now, moving since we have been always talking about the advantages, benefits, and looking at the better and the greener side of data and analytics. With more people understanding the data at play, you'll have an opportunity to receive credible feedback. Now, the proof is in the numbers, of course. I just want to point out that there's a McKinsey study which was conducted in 2010 of more than 1,000 major business investments, and it showed that when organizations worked at reducing the effect of bias in their decision making processes, they achieved returns up to 7% higher. When it comes to data driven decision making, reducing bias and letting numbers speak for themselves make all the difference. Now, the reason I highlighted this is I want to talk about a particular challenge or the challenges with regards to data driven, and one such challenge is biasness in data, or the earlier how I mentioned that probably converting data into insights and extracting insights from data sounds quite easy, but it ain't. So these all challenges are related to data, and since you are into this field, kindly can you tell us some of the major challenges the company has faced till now?
Yes. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. The if I go back to, as I shared earlier on, about where our company started, in more the reporting space, and even when we got into full-fledged, traditional business intelligence versus more maybe modern reporting and analytics. But with the traditional business intelligence and enterprise reporting, they were still, even to try and simplify as best you can, and trying to transform data and making it ready for that, the technologies are just very IT centric. And so I think it's always a very difficult challenge when you have IT centric applications and you're trying to drive business value and business gains and business insights from that, because the business users know what they want to do, but if they can't do half the things they need to do on their own, that's a challenge. And I think we saw that, for a decade or so before we kind of really switched into more of the Microsoft realm, where just having and supporting technologies that were very IT driven and IT centric, we weren't able to see the mass adoption. We weren't able to kind of really prove the value to the business user first, truly self-serve. And I think that's where, when we switch into Microsoft Power BI as an example, and being able to, within seconds, start making get meaningful insights out of the data and visualize it and slice and dice and drill down. And as a consumer, you can do that. I can do that on my mobile device. I can, get the alerts. I can, or if I'm an author and I want to change something, literally, these changes are just seconds away. And so I think that's really kind of a challenge early on. We struggle with an IT type approach, and now seeing more business. Now, that doesn't take away from the need to still make sure you're providing good data and creating a good data model, because that's still a challenge. Everything, if you lose confidence and trust in the data, and that's where there's no kind of easy button, and that still requires some level of understanding and technology, and data and relationships to be able to make the data meaningful. But I'd say, yeah, that's something that has been a big shift for us, is really from IT driven to business driven analytics. The other thing I would say is, when it comes to, we're talking about, the data visualization, and speaking of Power BI, but we still have a lot of customers that still use, let's say, an example of finance. I might be a controller. I live and breathe in Excel, and I do a lot of extracts of exports to Excel to build pivot tables. But the goal is really to get governance, and and governance can exist with, doesn't just have to be using the analytics tools. Being able to provide the right governance, maybe connecting Excel directly to a governed data model might solve some of that. And that's what we've seen to be successful, and some challenges there about just some governance related issues that can be resolved with a proper defined data model.
Well, I believe your journey from IT driven to business driven has been quite fascinating, and wishing you all the best wishes that you will be needing to grow more and achieve a more better customer base, and helping companies make data driven decision making and developing a culture of data driven. Um, Now, I really want to highlight. I want to share basically like there have been so many times that I've prepared for a meeting. I had the facts and figures ready to go, and in the end, the decision goes the complete opposite direction. So it probably felt like the decision had been made before the meeting even began. Now, I'm not sure if something like this has happened with any one of our listeners or probably you, Adam. But we aren't just talking about a startup full of newbies who think going with their gut is more critical than the KPIs. So here we are more talking about huge companies who want to leverage the value of data and analytics. Now, I'm not sure of there are different opinions and different perceptions of big data analytics and BI industry. So can you share your point of view on the current scenario of big data analytics and BI industry, and how do you think the future is going to be?
Yes. Well, I think kind of I mentioned, I think, seeing a lot of this becoming more mainstream. I think there's also, because the maturity level for a lot of companies, there's a lot of hype that this is going to be the way of the future. I do think, and even though they would talk about decision making and decision making based on gut versus decision making based on data or KPIs or what the data is telling you, and I think at the end of the day, it's still people that make decisions. And so the question is, how do you empower people to make the right decision and make the decision that's going to have the most meaningful impact to their business? It's funny, we internally at Preferred Strategies, we worked with one of the world-renowned machine learning expert and on a project. And I remember he shared some good insight that I've always kind of held and kept, and really, you can go through all these processes and the system's going to tell you something. And really, the best way to consider that is it's another voice in the room. So if you're talking about, a room full of executives or managers or anybody that's making a decision, and again, their gut's telling something, they make a decision based on gut. Well, having just that other seat at the table, that's the data, it creates pause, it creates questions, and it creates a reason to really kind of ensure that you're making the right decision. And so I think that's important. Eventually, as more and more gets automated and AI and machine learning does become more of the daily processes across the board, I think that it's people sometimes, again, due to the hype, think that, oh, it's going to solve all our problems for us. And I think the reality is that it's still going to require a lot of understanding and input, and you can't just throw all of your data that exists into a data set and say, okay, go tell me what I need to know, tell me what I need to do. You have to still kind of feed the engine for you to get something out of it. So I think the exciting news is that this is all in our foreseeable future and will be our new way of life. But I think it's going to be a little bit of some baby steps to transition from, how people can trust, because for so many companies have been doing decision making based on gut feel for decades, to now just say, okay, I'm going to take all that trust of my gut and now put that 100% trust in data. It's not going to be an overnight thing. So I think it's going to be a transition for a lot of companies.
Definitely, I completely agree with you that it's of course going to take time for a lot of companies and enterprises who have been taking decision based on their experience or on their gut, and suddenly making a transition and using leveraging data to make decisions, of course, is quite daunting. And yes, it's people who make decisions, but if they leverage data, they can they can make good decisions and in better informed decisions. And forward looking companies are those that are integrating data into their day to day operations. They place data at the heart of almost all important decisions, and they tolerate questioning, even dissent about business decisions being made, as long as the questioning is based on data and analysis. This is what it means to be a data driven business. Now, one last question, Adam. What would be your advice to emerging or budding entrepreneurs or leaders?
Oh, well, thanks. The fact that you're asking my opinion, it means a lot to me. Yeah, I would say that for leaders, if we're talking about in not already in the analytics space, and what we found is for a lot of customers, this type of journey and getting beyond the traditional way people have been doing things for decades, it is a step, and it's one of those things that it's a risk potentially that's worth taking because eventually, it's going to be to be competitive and to have a competitive advantage as a business, you have to be doing these things, and this has to be on your radar. But what we found is some companies that were nervous to kind of get into to more reliance on data and getting into a data driven type journey was 6 months after the fact. The feedback that we get is, man, we should have done that years ago. Now, so many years ago, the technologies weren't all there and things are moving so fast and changing so fast. But just put a lot of preparation, put a lot of thought. Again, it is a journey, and you have to consider it that way. There's no, again, as I mentioned before, there's no easy button. There's no overnight fix for this. It's something that, and what you think might be part of your journey today, as you get into it, and as the data is telling you something, and as you're getting different people in the organization to be, part of the process, I think it'll change what your long-term objectives and goals are and what you can achieve with it. So what you think you're going to be getting out of the journey day one will be completely different, probably at each turn throughout the next several years of your journey. So yeah, thank you again, Priya, for the great questions, and hopefully there's something in there that you'll be able to glean from.
Definitely, it's our pleasure, Adam. Likewise, and yes, nothing is easy. It's everything is a process, and it takes time, and it's a step by step process. Thank you for your kind words, and I'm sure our listeners would find it useful and would try to implement each of your advice wherever they feel is possible. Now, to end, digitization has created immense data patterns, pushing all businesses to become more data driven than ever before. The benefits of being a data driven enterprise are pretty transparent: agility, improved business performance, more profitability, stronger innovations. There are still few but yet important technical and business challenges to overcome to execute a winning digital transformation to become a fully data driven enterprise. Thank you so much, Adam. It was a pleasure having you with us. I'm sure our listeners are going to like this podcast and would like to glean whatever insights you have given, and probably they'll find it helpful at each of their business different phases of business. Thank you so much, Adam.